the big reveal. Wha-bam! So, this is a patchwork quilt that was inspired by a blanket hanging in the window of a local yarn store my friend and I were driving by. So, as some of you may know, there is a local yarn store named Yarnia opening up near me. And a friend and I were talking, driving. We were shopping for yarn. And we thought, you know, why not make a blanket for the store with squares contributed by members of our knitting group? So we ran with the idea, and we wanted to do it as a surprise for the grand opening of Yarnia, which is, by the way, in Montclair, New Jersey. So I organized the whole shebang, and what happened was I created secret Facebook events that ran the entire month that we were collecting squares to help get the idea out there, and also to hide the event from the shop owners. So our only requirements for these squares were that they had to be about 12 inches by 12 inches and using yarn from DK to heavy worsted weight. And you could use any stitch pattern, any color, you could knit or crochet it. So you see some of these squares, like this one is crocheted, this one is knit from the center out, this one's just a garter square, which is totally fine. And so I collected these squares in secret, covertly, so it was really fun. Whenever I went to knitting group, someone would come up to me and slip one in my bag or something, or just tuck it in, like tuck it behind me, and then I would have to stuff it in my bag. It felt super secret and it was super covert. And I want to highlight some of the squares. So some of the more ornate squares are towards the center of the blanket. So this is the center square. This is a 5x5 square blanket. So the center has a Y on it for Yarnia. This one right above it is a crocheted mandala. This one's also a crocheted mandala. This one it shows blue irises, which is a flower that is kind of a trademark of Montclair, because there's a beautiful iris garden in town. Let's see, some more here. Let me hold up the bottom of the blanket. And the little guy in the corner, this little minion dude. This is crocheted by the same woman who crocheted the iris square. She's so talented. Joanna, you're way too hard on yourself. This square is made from hand spun, which is super cool. All of these squares are just super special. Some of them were a little smaller, like this one. So when I was piecing it together, before I pieced it, I had to crochet a thicker border using the same black yarn around so they would be easier to piece. So the piecing of this blanket, once I had all 25 squares and I had laid them out, I roughly laid them out by hue. So you see the more green ones are in this corner, the more gray ones in this corner, the purple, with the exception of the minion, in this corner, and kind of along the bottom. So they were roughly arranged by hue so that it would kind of flow from side to side instead of just being a strict patchwork or straight patchwork. And once I had all the squares laid out on my floor, I would piece two of them together by holding their wrong sides together and crocheting a seam across. So for those of you who have done a crocheted seam, it's exactly like that. It's kind of like doing a 3-needle bind off, but with the crochet hook as your needle instead. And so once I seamed all of them, then I crocheted around the border, and I did 3 rounds of double crochet with a chain space in the corner. So that worked pretty well, and I think it's pretty proportional to the rest of the blanket. And that's it. This is the Yarnia Love Quilt. And during the making of this video, the owners have not seen it yet. Today is Monday, September 11th. They are going to see it Tuesday, September 12th, when I presented to them in the knitting group meeting, and I hope they love it. See you, Vandy and Amanda. This is for Amanda and Vandy. What? So we made something for you.
Oh, we were doing this today. Oh my God, Chanel. Oh my God. Wow. Oh my God. Are you kidding me?
This is from about 20-something members of the group. We made a patchwork quilt for you guys.
Are you kidding me? We noticed that the work is Chanel. Yeah, Chanel put it together. We all put it together. We all did it. Can you tell who's whose? Can you tell? I bet you can. I bet you can tell who's in what square. I bet you can. Chanel or Yarn. Ask them for your store. Oh, great. Everyone. I think maybe it's awesome. I think most of us here. Yeah. Wow. Love girls. Love it. Great. Chanel, get in the picture. You did all the work. Oh, it's so wow. I'm looking for a minion on the bottom. Who's the minion? Joanna. Fun. A friend of mine suggested that the minion gets put in the corner to like peep out. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you guys. Oh, I can't believe it.